Welcome to 99 Yards, American football for UK fans. I'm your host, Liz Bandari, and this week I'm joined by Duncan Terry and Shona Duthie. How is everyone? In this week's episode, we'll be talking about how our opinions have changed over the season, as well as taking a look at the state of play following week 14. We'll also be joined by Tom Bloomfield from Oddschecker, who'll give us a preview of bets for the week ahead, and of course our fantasy duo Rich King and Chris Milner to help you through your fantasy playoffs. But first, a great weekend of games is now done. The weekend ended in a beautiful win for the Seahawks. There is now an exciting two-way battle to follow for the number one seed in both conferences, plus we saw big wins for the 49ers and the Raiders affecting the race to the bottom for the number one pick. What's your take on the state of play right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was speaking about this earlier to some colleagues at work, and they were basically saying that they feel whoever comes sixth in NFC is not exciting anymore, which I thought was quite an interesting take, because obviously previously we always thought the NFC was a way better conference compared to the AFC. So I thought that was quite interesting to hear. I mean, it's good for my Seahawks. That's the main thing. It looks like we can get in there, which we did not expect at the start of the season, especially you, Duncan.
No, I didn't.
Although I think if I read somewhere if the NFL season ends today, we would have an away trip to Dallas, which would probably make my blood boil, because who wants to see Jerry Jones winning in the playoffs? But that's just a personal opinion. Elsewhere, it's interesting that both the Niners and Raiders won. I still think the Raiders are going to get the number one pick. I'm sure John Gordon is just in a one-way streamline of I want the number one pick for next year. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, that's what I thought of the weekend.
It was a cracking weekend, wasn't it? That game between the Chiefs and the Ravens was just phenomenal playoff style football, and I really hope the Ravens make it. I'll talk about the wild cards in a minute, but the race for number one between the Patriots and the Chiefs. About 5 minutes before the end, I declared the Patriots the winner, and the Chiefs were going to lose to the Ravens. Yeah, they're just going to Belichick the whole thing, and the reverse happened, and it really makes it interesting if the Chiefs have home field advantage. Say if it's number one versus number two in the championship game, that would just be so much more interesting this year. It's just something different. That'd be fantastic. On the other side, Rams and Saints, it appears they're both trying their best not to have the number one pick. They're both still winning, but they're not quite the teams they were at the beginning of the year. But they're still heavy favourites. And yeah, seed number 3, the Bears. I mean, you mentioned the Cowboys. I wouldn't want to play the Bears at the moment. Looking really, really good. The race for number one pick. Neither team needs a quarterback, interestingly. Well, some might argue for Derek Carr. Those defensive linemen are going to come flying off the board early.
It's quite. There was a rumor floating around not that long ago that he was considering trading Carr, and to be honest, that just wouldn't surprise me. He just seems to be doing everything that is the least bit non-surprising, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's been cleaning house this week. It was Reggie McKenzie.
Yeah, there was a random quote he said as well, which would I can't remember what he said exactly, but I read it and I was just like, my mind is literally boggling as he's saying something about, I hope the next GM has looked at all my trade plans or something like that. I was just like, is he trying to make it out like he doesn't run the show? Because we clearly know he does.
Yeah, it'll be one of his old mates, definitely.
And how about the race for the wildcard spots? That's looking pretty interesting at the moment.
Yeah, as I was about to touch on, the Seahawks. I saw that too, and I think they're statistically 99% certain to secure the 5th seed now. So, yeah, that's probably a trip to the Cowboys. So, exciting times for a team that before the season I'd written off, like many others, I hasten to add. But that. The race for number 6 does seem dire, but I would never count out someone like the Panthers. They've got a really talented team, and they'll probably be the one to make it, I would say. The Vikings, they've got a great team, but they're really struggling at the moment, especially after firing one of their coaches today as well. So Odds on the Panthers, I'd say, for that.
Yeah, that's the guys I would go with. The Redskins, it's just like they've just tailed off the end because Alex Smith got his injury, and they were 100%. To me, they were more of a start to get them the division rather than the Cowboys. But obviously, that is not happening now. It's not gone well for the Panthers in the past couple of weeks, but you can never write off Cam Newton to be like, I am making that playoffs. So, but yeah, I would definitely go with them as well.
On the other side, it looks like a race between the Colts, the Titans, and the Ravens. Some talk about the Browns, but I don't see it. I think that's a little fantasy. Obviously, the Chargers are locked up number 5.
Yeah, I have a little soft spot for the Colts at the moment. I would just love to see them in the playoffs, and they'd actually be quite an exciting team to be there, I think. But then, on the other hand, you have Lamar Jackson at the Ravens, so I think he's been doing really, really amazing as QB. So I don't know.
I think I missed out the Dolphins there. I haven't paid them enough respect. I don't know quite how they've got to set.
Well, the Miami Miracle, we all witnessed it.
Quite.
Join me in welcoming Tom Bloomfield from Oddschecker. As regular listeners will know, Tom is a Bucks fan and Oddschecker is a betting comparison site. So, Tom, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hi, Liz. I'm good, thanks. I'm sure you are as well after last night's Monday Night Football that we saw with the Seahawks winning. Sorry, spoilers if anyone hasn't already seen that. But no, it's all good. And I was 1 out of 3 in my picks last week when we were going through the games. So a rough start, although I did say the Bears +3 at the Rams was a good bet. But we'll go through 3 more games now, and I'll give you some of the best odds available in different markets, and we'll see what we can find on the grids.
Awesome. So with week 15 of NFL action ahead of us, it'd be good to have a look at what I think are maybe the biggest games. So let's start with the Cowboys versus Colts.
Sure. So Cowboys at the Colts. It's Sunday 6 p.m. It's an interesting one, this one, because the Cowboys have, in the last few weeks, really taken a stranglehold in their division. The Colts got back on track as well last week, so this should be quite a good game. In the winners market, the Colts are just favourites, 7 to 10 best price, which means £10 on the Colts would get you £7. Cowboys are outsiders, 13 to 10 best price, so £10 on would win you 13 plus your stake back. So the Colts just marginal favourite, which is probably quite surprising considering how well the Cowboys have done in the past few weeks, but that's what the bookies have. On the points spread market, we have the main line set at 3 points. So 3 points in favour of the Indianapolis Colts. So if you back them -3, you'd be starting off on a -3 handicap. They'd need to win by 4 points or more for your bet to come in. That's best price, 107 to 100, thanks to Marathon Bet's innovative pricing. Most of them are around evens. The Cowboys +3 is what the other side is. So you'd need the Cowboys to lose by 2 points or less, or obviously win the game. That would get your bet in. 10 to 11 is the best price on that, and that is with Sky Bet. Looking personally, I think obviously the Cowboys, it's a very difficult place to go to, Indianapolis, at the moment, especially with Andrew Luck playing the way he is. But they should be feeling good about themselves. They've done really well the last few weeks. They're riding a good wave of momentum. I think 3 points away from home is a good bet. 10 to 11 is a fair price. So if it's up to me, Cowboys +3 is the way to go.
Awesome. And how about Eagles versus Rams? What are the best odds you've seen for that matchup?
So the Philadelphia Eagles at the Los Angeles Rams. This will be Sunday Night Football, which means it's Monday morning for us, 1:20 a.m., and that'll be on Sky Sports. The Rams lost again. We've seen that a few times now. They played poorly in back-to-back games, but they're still very, very big favourites to win this at their own stadium in the Coliseum. 1 to 4 is the best price you can get on the LA Rams to win. So £4 on would win you just £1. The Eagles, meanwhile, big outsiders in this one. 71 to 20 is the best price, but to simplify it a little bit, 7 to 2 is the most common price you can get. So £2 on would win you 7. So if you fancy the underdog, that's a big price. It could win you quite a bit of money there. On the point spread market, we've got the line set commonly at 9 points. So Rams would need to win by 10 points or more for your bet to come in. And that's available at just under evens at best price, so 49 to 50, with 10 to 11 very common as well. On the other side, Eagles +9 available at 10 to 11 best price, so you're giving the Eagles a 9-point head start there if you think that's going to be the case. Just because the Rams always seem to score a lot of points, I'll show you some more markets as well. Total points, so the points to be scored by both teams combined in this game, that is 53.5 points. So over or under is what you can bet on that. Over 53.5 points is 19 to 20 best price, and it's the same for the unders as well. But I'm going to go away from all of those and give you a bet that I think that looks quite good. So half-time, full-time, that means a team to be leading at half-time and a team to be leading at full-time. The Rams are available at 4 to 6 to be winning at half-time and at full-time. That bet has come in a couple of times in recent weeks. In fact, actually, Jeff Reinbold on one of our previews went for the Rams at half-time, full-time a few weeks ago. I think it's another good bet at 4 to 6, best price. And yeah, that's what I think the way to go is. A comfortable Rams victory with them leading at half-time and full-time.
And finally, Monday Night Football, or as you say, kind of Tuesday in the middle of the morning kind of us. What can you tell me about Saints versus Panthers?
Yeah, you have to be quite a hardcore fan to be staying up for these ones. Kind of mucks up your sleeping pattern. But the Saints at the Panthers, NFC South rivalry, Tuesday, 1:15 a.m. Ron Rivera is going to be pretty much under pressure now, and he's not going to get it any easier against the Saints, who are going to be coming into Carolina's backyard. Saints are favourites, as you'd expect. They're 41 to 100 best price. Most firms are going 2 to 5, so £5 on would win you £2. The Carolina Panthers, on the other hand, the best price you can get for them is 43 to 20 to win. Most bookies are going at 2 to 1, so £1 on would win you £2. The Saints didn't look too good at times against my Bucks on Sunday, but they did get the job done eventually. It was quite a low-scoring game, though, well, certainly lower than what most people might have thought. In the total points market, they've got this one at 52 points, so over or under that number. 97 to 100 best price for the overs, and 93 to 100 for the unders. Then going on to the point spread market, we already know that the New Orleans Saints are going to be favourites in this one, but just by how much? Well, the bookies have got it set at 6.5 points. So the Saints would need to win by a touchdown or more in order for your bet to come in. Saints minus 6.5 is available at 21 to 20 best price, with the Panthers plus 6.5 at 10 to 11. Personal opinion, I think Saints minus 6.5, very good value there. I know it's a tough place to go into, Carolina, and apart from the last couple of weeks, before that, the Panthers have been pretty imperious at home. But Saints once again found a way to win last week, and I think that they're going to be rolling away with momentum, and that win should buoy them up against another NFC South opponents who are struggling at all kinds, especially with Cam Newton's injury. So yeah, the Saints minus 6.5, 21 to 20, I'd snap that up all day long.
Perfect. Well, thanks for that, Tom. It's great to have you on as always, and we look forward to hearing from you more next week.
Perfect. Remember to go onto oddschecker.com for all of the best betting tips, insights and prices, and also follow Oddschecker on Twitter, which is at Oddschecker. And if you go on YouTube as well, Oddschecker TV, loads of NFL content for you there, featuring NFL Talk UK and our Oddschecker NFL ambassador, Jeff Reinbold.
Now let's have a look at how some of our opinions might have changed as the season's gone on. For example, before the season, I never really considered the Chicago Bears to be a contender. They had a new coach, a team full of rookies and second-year players. But I was wrong. They've put together a really intimidating defence, and Trubisky is looking like the real deal. Throw in the trade for Mack and some impressive rookies like Anthony Miller and Roquan Smith. They've been really impressive and look set for a long run in the NFC North.
Yeah, I mean, I would have not have backed the Bears at the beginning of the season either. They're kind of like the team I was just like, oh, there they are, the Chicago Bears, you know, now and again. But they started building their defense last year, and people are now making a comparison between them and the 2017 Rams, which I think is quite an interesting one to read into. But yeah, they are just killing it in that division, and with the way the Packers are going at the moment, you know, they got rid of their head coach, they You gave Aaron Rodgers a massive deal. You're going to have to maybe rebuild around Rodgers next season. Yeah, I think the Bears have locked that up for a couple of seasons to come. A team I have really been disappointed in are the Atlanta Falcons, and not just because I picked them in the sweepstake at the start of the year. I am surprised at where they are. I am sort of not surprised as well. I said after their Super Bowl loss, look, that team are going to struggle to pick up momentum from that. And they did all right last season, but I feel like this season is really the season that it's kicked in, because this is only 2 years on and they're now 4-9 for the season. After Sunday's 34-20 loss at Green Bay, all the players and coaches to me are in the spotlight. Something is not going right, and it's just disappointing to see, because they were so good a couple of years ago when they made the Super Bowl, and they would have to win 2 of their last 3 just to match their last losing record, which was 6-10 in 2014. Like, that's insane when you think of it like that, especially for a team who were so good not that long ago.
Yeah, I agree. There have been a major disappointment since their Super Bowl run, albeit it was 2 years ago, and they had to change their offensive coach, which led to a little bit of a disappointing that season last year, and now they've only got 4 wins this year. It's baffling. They've had injuries, likes of Freeman on offense and Jones on defense, but you look at them and you think they've got a team which has some ridiculously talented individuals. You got I forget the defensive lineman. Is it Jarrett? Grady Jarrett. And Campbell, Jones, you've got Trufant in defence. You've got Jones, Coleman, Freeman, Matt Ryan, Jake Campbell. But really, where's the rest of the team, I'd argue, I think, with them? Someone I think I've changed my mind on this season would be the Colts. They've been up. They've had a lot of downs. Andrew Luck's been injured for a very long time. He's come back. Is he going to be fit this season? And the answer was yes, he was. A resounding yes. Very, very impressive. You've got the eternal conversation who was the best pick in that draft, him and Russell Wilson, but let's just not go into that for now. I love their offensive line. Kelly and Nelson are just an absolutely phenomenal combination, centre and left guard. I've always liked T.Y. Hilton. I don't know, but I hope that stands for thank you, Hilton. Do you know if it does? I kind of hope it does. But yeah, their defense has just been absolute rubbish until recently, and they pick up this fella Leonard, who's just a fantastic linebacker, leading the league, I believe, in tackles, and he's just everywhere. It's a really different team under Frank Reich. Yeah,
they're like my little dream team right now. You're just wishing them on in every game. But that's just like me being like, oh my god, the Colts are finally back after being pretty poor after a few seasons.
And a tip of the hat to Adam Vinatieri as well, breaking the points record.
Indeed. Someone who I didn't even think about at the start of the season, and to be honest, he still has time to finish this, storybook season for himself, is James Conner from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, he was basically taken into the team because Le'Veon Bell has decided not to take up his contract, and he didn't appear, his franchise tags, he didn't appear this season and is not going to play. The guy has just absolutely killed it. Whoever picked James Conner at the start of the season in their fantasy team, my hat, is tipped off to you, because he's just been absolutely smashing it. In Bell's absence, he's on his way to 909 rushing yards, which is 5th in the NFL, and 12 rushing touchdowns, which is tied for 2nd. As of last week, he was 5th overall in the Pro Bowl voting. So this guy is just, he wasn't even mentioned at the start of the season, and who doesn't love the story? Who doesn't want him to succeed and come back and finish this, great season that he's had? Because I've been super impressed with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Tip of the hat to the guy, and people like Andre Hall at the Texans as well. Just really great examples to anyone. One other who I've changed my mind on this time, again, from negative to positive, will be Pat Mahomes. I'll put my hand up. I was wrong. I'm wrong a lot today, actually. Hang on, I don't like this. Where's this going? Pat Mahomes, I looked at him playing for Texas in college, and I thought, if ever there's a player, not called Johnny Manziel, that can only play in the college offensive system, that's him. He was just throwing the ball around 60, 70 yards at a time, and his receivers would come down with the catches. But interestingly, the way the league's gone, it was just, especially the Chiefs, teams like the Rams, that they've changed to that style to match their quarterbacks, which has really, really worked for him. He's got one of the best offensive minds in Reed helping him out there. So he's been in a really great situation, and he's really shown what he can do. And fair play to the fella. I didn't think he would do very much, and he's just been absolutely superb. MVP wise, my heart still rules my head and says Breeze, but Mahomes is up there.
Yeah, definitely. I love the kid. Honestly, it's just his hair, his tweets about getting 57 touchdowns to get unlimited 57 variety, the variety of ketchup. He's cool on the pitch and cool off the pitch. I wish I was as cool as him. I don't think I have enough coolness in my pinky, let alone what he's got.
Joining me now is our fantasy football duo here at 99 Yards, Rich King and Chris Milner. How's it going, guys?
Not too bad. Didn't really make many playoffs though, so my season's kind of over. So
no.
Yeah, well, it just means I've got more time for other people to start sit questions.
The resentment in your voice. I'm so sorry about that. I did make one of my playoffs. Luckily, the one that I'm paying the big money into the league, so I'm still all systems go playoffs, and here to help as well.
Awesome. So to any new listeners, each week, Rich and Chris join us to give us the latest in fantasy football and to let us know who they are sitting and starting. So guys, what can you tell me about week 15 of NFL action?
So week 15 there's going to be a bunch of really good games this week as you come into the real NFL playoffs run. So my start at quarterback is Jared Goff this week. I think the game against Chicago, he was going to struggle. I mean, it was cold weather and that defense is absolutely legit. So I think he'll bounce back this week and he'll be a pretty good start against the Philadelphia Eagles, who they've got a good pass rush, but outside of that, their defense isn't truly legitimate. So I think he'll bounce back in a big way.
Yeah, I think the Eagles have started apparently 13 different players in their backfield on defense this season so far. So yeah, I think you're right there. I think exploitation is going to be the name of the game. I'm going to stay in division with the Eagles and go Dak Prescott against the Colts. I think that finally he's going to really flourish in the latter part of this season, Dak. I think the trade from Amari Cooper has helped him out in no end. And Colts are middle of the road against the pass, but I think he continues his run. And, having to deal with Zeke, they're going to leave. They're not going to, they're going to leave a few options open over the top. And I think that Dak carries on his current form into this week.
That sounds legit to me. So my sit for this week at quarterback, and it kills me to say as I'm a Packers fan, is Aaron Rodgers.
Hot take.
I don't really think it's a hot take. I mean, we just saw what happened with the Rams and their offense. They just got absolutely done by the Bears, and Green Bay traveling to the exact same arena, but they don't have nearly enough offensive talent. Outside of Rodgers, you got Adams and Aaron Jones. So I don't think it's gonna be a good matchup at all. And
I agree with you, and I mean it just sounds strange to hear people say, sit Aaron Rodgers for your playoffs.
Yeah.
But I am going to actually follow up with an even bolder one, which I'm sitting Pat Mahomes this week, which I know sounds absolutely crazy. But personally in my league, I've got him and Deshaun Watson, and I've sat Pat Mahomes 3 times this season. 2 out of the 3 times it was a good decision. And I think this week against the Chargers, who have actually underrated defense, and Mahomes is missing Tyreek Hill, I think that, you can only rely on that guy's skill to a point. And I think this is the week where he is held in check more than he would be any other week.
Only thing I'll say there is, did you see the no-look pass?
There's always one, and it's fair enough, it was a beautiful pass, but other than that, and a bit of garbage time, Baltimore really did hold him down a bit this week. I know that the stat line is amazing for any other quarterback, but for Mahomes standards, I think that he could have done better. And I think for the division against the Chargers, who I think are playing very well, I think Derwin James is looking at potential Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate. I'm tempering my expectations with Mahomes this week.
Yeah, that's fair. So, my start is actually in that same game. So it's Justin Jackson, who is looking like he's going to be the starting running back for the Chargers. Melvin Gordon hasn't trained, and to be honest, if he looks like he's going to be, not 100%, then I think the Chargers hold him out. And the same kind of goes for Eckler. So Justin Jackson is definitely a great start for you this week if you need a running back.
Yeah, and Eckler's facing, I think, his concussion protocol as well. So, yeah, I think that's a good call. Mine's Elijah Maguire for the Jets against the Texans. Texans obviously very good against the run, but, you've got a rookie quarterback, Sam Darnold. He likes to hand it off. Isaiah Crowell is out. If you're looking for a fill-in at running back for some reason, roll the dice on Maguire if he's available.
Yep. My sit at running back is Adrian Peterson, which again sounds a bit weird to say. He struggled against the Giants in what was essentially a blowout, but outside of that, he's actually looked halfway okay. I just think that Jacksonville this week is a tough game. The Redskins don't really have any kind of offensive talent outside of Adrian Peterson. So for the Jags to win the game, all they need to do really is stack the box, and their secondary should do more than enough in coverage. So I think that, I just think that he's just really going to struggle this week to get anything going.
Even as a Redskins fan, I have to agree with you there. Josh Jackson's an unknown entity, and I think that putting all your eggs in the AP basket would be an unwise decision this week.
I just think he's going to get scripted out very early.
Yeah, definitely. And the Jags front seven is ferocious. So, yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go with sitting Sony Michel against Pittsburgh. Michel's obviously RB1-2 wherever you want to play him, but for some reason I just think that this is going to be a passing game. I think this is going to be a shootout between Tom Brady and Ben, and I think maybe James White actually ends up finishing the game with more yards than Michel on this one. Random take, but that's what I'm going with.
I can see that happening, but I personally don't think I can stand 100% behind sitting Sony Michel.
Absolutely.
Just because if it's a passing game, then I think James White maybe actually isn't as involved as people think. When he had his start, his great start at the start of the season, that's a team that was missing Edelman, Hogan was struggling, and Gronk was just not Gronk. Now you've got these guys back in the team. You've also got Josh Gordon. I think that James White actually struggles for passing volume, and yeah, I don't hate the take of sitting Sony Michel, but if I've got him, I'm probably still going to keep him in.
Yeah, to be honest, if I had him, I'd probably start him too. But at the same time, Pittsburgh 8th against the run. I can just see, like you said, with the weapons that Tom's got to throw, he feels more comfortable doing that. I think Michel's going to get maybe one down out of 3 per series, and I'm just not willing to go all in on that.
Okay, yeah, it's fair. My start for wide receiver is Curtis Samuel, who is just hot fire at the moment. He's going to boom or bust for you. And in the playoffs, depending on your matchup, as I was saying last week, if you're coming up against a team that's going to score a lot of points, then you might need to take these gambles. Curtis Samuel came off last week with 8 targets for catching 4 for 80 yards. Week before, 88 yards. Week before, he scored a touchdown. So, the guy's running pretty hot at the moment. And against the New Orleans Saints, I think that Marshawn Lattimore can't cover him and DJ Moore, and I think he probably shadows DJ Moore more often than he'll shadow Curtis Samuel. So if Cam can get it back on track, which might be saying something, then Curtis Samuel could be a decent option for you.
Yeah, I like that pick. I thought DJ Moore would end up being the more clear-cut number one, but I mean, it looks like Samuel's, getting his fair share. My start is Deshaun Hamilton of the Broncos after Emmanuel Sanders' Achilles injury. It's basically Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton at wideout for Denver now, and the guy took a score last week, 47 yards, I think, off 7 targets, and I can see his role expanding. I mean, they're going against the Browns, obviously 22nd against the pass. That could be a sneaky play for Sean.
Yeah, definitely. My sit for this week is Adam Humphries, who has been in a brilliant run of form, but struggled last week against New Orleans, and with a game on the road against the Ravens. I think that's a really tough matchup, and I'm not sure if he's going to get the targets to, the opportunity to really have a big week this week.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. My sit is Kenny Golladay against the Bills. I loved Kenny Golladay a lot this season. He had some amazing weeks. He had a lot more. He flatters to deceive, Kenny Golladay, I think. I think the potential for big games are there, but I find it difficult to rely on him. And, even with, the situation with the wideouts in Detroit, I still think he's going to have a really tough day against the Bills. Because say what you want about them, their defense is not shabby at all. And I think they're second against the position at the moment. So Golladay sitting.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing you have to remember is the Buffalo Bills actually do have, I can't remember the guy's name, but they do have a really legit corner who's been playing well all season, but I've just completely mind blanked on him. But yeah, he's the Buffalo Bills can normally take away your one receiver, but he's normally that two receiver that will see the production. But yeah, so I love that sit really.
Yeah, they don't even have a number 2 receiver at this point, Detroit.
No, well, that's it. Yeah.
So yeah, all right. Well, that's what we've got for you guys. Good luck in all your playoff runs. We hope that you get more success than Rich has had, unfortunately.
Yeah, and if you guys are wondering what there's nothing for tight end, essentially, unless you've got Kelsey or George Kittle, it's not gone well for you. So good luck.
Yeah. Nightmare tight ends for this season, but there you go. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, excellent stuff. Thanks, guys, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you next week. Let's get on with the listeners' questions, shall we? Starting with 2 great questions from Alan Humphreys from the Wirral. The first being, is this the best year for rookies? All QBs are regulars, Barkley breaking records, Chubb and R. Smith starting too.
I'll take this for you, and I'll tell you what, I do love the rookies. I mean, my favourite coming out was Josh Rosen, just in the theme of me being wrong. But they've really been fantastic. Wide receivers, DJ Moore, Anthony Miller. You've got your linemen playing well. You've got Will Hernandez in New York. You've got obviously Nelson in Indianapolis, who we've spoken about already. Everyone's just really been fantastic. You've got players from further down the draft as well. But I will give you, in terms of is this the best year for rookies, 2007. And I'll just reel off a few names just by way of an example. You've got Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas, Adrian Peterson, Patrick Willis, Marshawn Lynch, Darrell Revis. Further down the draft, you've got Eric Weddle and Marshall Yanda. So best year, doesn't even compare really, but it's been an absolutely great year so far.
I miss Megatron.
Yeah, we all do, I think.
He's
Thanksgiving.
such a good player. And his second question is, what's going on with the kickers?
That's like a minefield in itself, isn't it? Like, that's just like dropping the microphone and leaving the building. That question.
I tell you what, they've been picked up and they've been made to move teams. They're moving to a different state. Their families, they're moving home. 10 minutes later, they're on the pitch. and expected to make every field goal. They miss one, they're out, and they move on to the next guy. I'm not sure they've been given a good enough shot. What do you think?
Yeah, I that's exactly what I was just about to say. And I actually think there's a lot more pressure on kickers this year. Like, especially this season, a lot of games have came down to bringing your kicker on and scoring that game-winning kick. And unless you're, Janikowski from Seattle, who's cool as a cucumber every time he steps up to take one of those kicks, it's hard to come by a really good kicker, I personally think. It's just so much pressure, and you're right, they're not given enough time. They're picked up by teams, they're playing, they're dropped when they don't get the points that they need, and they're blamed, and they seem to be blamed a lot. Like I don't think it's all the kickers' fault. If you look at some of the teams that have dropped their kickers this year, they could have done better on offense before they had to rely on the kicker to get them the game-winning points. Yeah,
and it's absolutely destroying the confidence of the young kickers, isn't it? So where it's going to go in the future, 5 years' time, it's going to be diabolical.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a kicker in college right now and I was, hoping to get drafted in the next, the draft next year, I'd be like, well, I'm going to have to really prove myself in 2 or 3 games, or I'm getting dropped for someone, a veteran who can come in.
Yeah, and rent rather than buy.
Yeah.
We've got another 2-part question. This one's from Gareth Martindale from Colne. His first question is, who is more likely to be signed in the off-season and by who? And he specifically mentions Bell, Hunt and Kaepernick.
Well, I've said quite a lot on Kaepernick in this podcast before, who I think he should be picked up, but I know for a fact he won't be. So I think out of the 3, Bell 100%. I don't think Hunt or Cap will be.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I think Hunt's out of the league for the minimum of a year. And on Kaepernick, he should have been signed a long time ago. Sanchez and Johnson over him is just atrocious.
Oh, it's diabolical.
I mean, I'll give you, he's not that great of a quarterback. He has been out of the league a long time, but so have the others. They're worse. But Bell's going to be signed. Should he be released?
Where do you think he might go? Or who do you think might pick him up?
I mean, who likes a project? Well, I say project. A media circus. The first one that springs to mind is the rival Bengals, but they've got Joe Mixon. That's a very good question.
One we can think about.
Yeah.
Maybe I heard a rumor, which could be a complete fabrication of every rumor going about, that the Jets are interested, which would be interesting.
Good shout.
Yeah, so wait and see. But it also wouldn't surprise me if the Steelers, is it franchise tag? Is that right?
Yeah.
Where they will match. Yeah. They will match the offer of any other team that offers him that same contract, which that wouldn't surprise me either. But I don't see him going. I don't ever see him in a Steelers shirt ever again. I'll put it that way.
No way. Another one to throw out there, maybe the Redskins. Peterson probably won't be there next year. He's the wrong side of. He's having a good season, but he'll probably move on. So yeah, Redskins could be another.
Well, they like to be controversial, don't they? So
exactly.
And Gareth's second question is the Seahawks defense underrated?
Yes.
Well, that would be typical. There's 3 Seahawks fans on this podcast, so...
We're at different stages of our love, though, aren't we?
We are all different stages of our love with Misery Duncan over here. They were so good last night, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, our both offenses, to me, were pretty dreadful. I watched the highlights quickly this morning, and I was like, that is the worst I think I've seen Russell Wilson play in a very long time. But, they could have almost pulled off their first shutout since 2015. They basically almost did, because it was 1:10 left to play before the Vikings eventually got their touchdown through Dalvin Cook. as Frank Clark said, the Richard Sherman and his era are over, and we have a new era now. So, yeah, as much as I love Sherman, we're not quite middle of the road, as you said.
Just to put my usual spin on these things, I think in terms of overrated, underrated, they're probably rated exactly as they should be. They were a mystery at the beginning of the year, and we're finding out that they've got a lot to them. They've got some truly great players like Bobby Wagner. He's so good, and Bradley McDougall's having just one hell of a season. He should be a bowler, but enough people haven't heard the name, I don't think, yet. Frank Clark, he's playing superb. He's going to earn a lot of money somewhere at the end of the season. That's another story. But also we've got some players not playing to their potential. Griffin and Flowers, they're very new players, and they seem to be getting burnt a fair amount. I don't think Flowers is 100% fit. Justin Coleman played very well last night, but he's had a couple of dodgy weeks. And Thompson, the other safety. So the secondary is not quite all there. And in pass rush, I'm not exactly sure who plays the other side of Frank Clark at end. Dion Jordan, it's a combination of players. But there's places they can improve, probably on defensive line and safety.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I do feel like people at the start of the season were just like, "Oh, the Legion of Boom's over. That's it. Seattle's defense is terrible. Like they're not going to do well." And it was all a bit doom and gloom. But to me, they have surprised people, and also they said it again after week 3 when Thomas broke his leg. They were like, "Oh, that's it. That's it. They don't have Thomas. It's terrible." And I think it's been the exact opposite.
Yeah, they have been playing extremely well. I'll give them their dues, definitely.
Well, that's all for this week's show. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the topics we've discussed, and of course, any feedback you may have. You can tweet us at 99yards. If you're a regular listener and enjoy our show, we'd love you to leave us a star review via Apple Podcasts or the provider that you listen to us through. Join us next week where we'll be speaking to Bills secondary coach and Great Britain captain Phoebe Schechter. Thanks for listening.